2022 March, Iquitos, Peru mission by Chuck King, Frontier Harvest Ministries of Ford City, PA. I flew from Pittsburgh to Houston to Lima to Iquitos, and that's a grueling trip because I had to stay overnight in the Lima hotel, or in the Lima airport without a hotel. But now I'm approaching Iquitos here from the air. It's beautiful. And John Mortimer picked me up and took me to my hotel room, the Maranon Hotel. And the next day we began our ministry. And you can see Greg Causey and John here in this church where we ministered. And every service was basically the same. John would introduce us, and then I would preach a probably less than half-hour message, and Greg would do the same. So within an hour, both of us would preach, and then John would take over and train everyone on the chlorine generator. That was our plan for each ministry. It was really hot in this first place. I was really sweaty. And these young people did their drama, their dance, and everybody enjoyed that. It was a children's ministry. A dear brother who was a Navy veteran in the Peruvian Navy for 34 years, that's him standing there with John. He has a burden for the children and to reach their parents. Now you see John is doing the chlorine generator training here, and they're really interested, and we were able to give a generator to this brother to reach 3,000 people with safe water and the gospel. And you can see that they had more drama, dance, and even prayer for the sick before we closed that service. And then in the evening, we went to another church in a very poor part of Iquitos. Both of these places were in a very poor place. But this was a group of believers, including a number of pastors who had come from a long distance to attend a conference in the next number of days. And they were there because they were interested in the chlorine generator. So we repeated our ministry. I preached, Greg preached, the people all respond. They stand up and say, yes, I agree with what you're saying, I want to do that. Greg's messages were very encouraging to the people. This was the pastor, or is the pastor of that church. And then John began to train them on the chlorine generators once again. John has a real burden to take this equipment to the villages. You can see there are 4 people here that received their equipment on that night. Okay, the next day we went to another place. We drove a distance, a couple of hours to go, and we had the same program where I preached and then Greg preached, and they're always responsive. This is a small group. These were pastors and church leaders who came together for this in order to not only hear the word, but to be trained on the chlorine generator once again by John. And the training went very well. He does a really good job. He wants to see this helping the people, a tool for evangelism and for prospering the people. And so he gave away 9 sets of equipment, 9 sets here in this place. You can see the 9 individuals with their equipment standing here in this picture and very happy to go and have a ministry among their people. Then in the evening service, we went to John's home church. This is the pastor of that church. We've been there before. Very fine people. And again, we had our teaching time, myself, then Greg, and then John began again the training on the chlorine generators. And the people always gather around when they have an opportunity. They like to smell the chlorine gas coming off of that when it's working, and they like to see how it purifies the water. And John is a very effective communicator, so they were happy to receive these generators. And 4 of them two families. This is only one of the families who received that evening service. They're going to a faraway village to reach their people. Here's an amazing thing: 4 nights in the Marathon Hotel for my own room by myself, including breakfast, was only $85.27. On Friday afternoon, we went out to a rural village and met this pastor who has a well on his property that provides water for many, many families. And they get it from that faucet there. They just come and take the water. The water is polluted from surface water, and it has bacteria and other pathogens in it. And so he needs a chlorine generator to give chlorine to all those neighbors to put in their water. So John trained him. There was supposed to be a group of young people there, but they didn't show up. Some of them came at the end, but we didn't preach on this particular visit, but we focused on the chlorine generator. You can see John does a very good job, step-by-step training on the chlorine generator. And so there you can see the chlorine treated the little bucket of water to the right amount, and that's how he teaches them how to do it. The little kids did start to show up. There were even a couple of dogs there that were very friendly and wanted to be near us. And you can see that some of the kids showed up here toward the end of the training, and they all prayed for us. It was very sweet. They prayed for us. This pastor has been known by John for a long time. Then in the evening, we went to this church, had a really good service there. They had a dynamic praise and worship team that was really very professional, and everyone enjoyed the worship time and really got into it. It's a little bit larger church than the other ones that we had been to. And Greg and I taught, as we did before. I would preach, and then Greg would preach, and then John would come and train them on the chlorine generators. But just before that, they came forward for prayer. A number of people came, and we prayed for them. And then John did the chlorine generator training as he did on the previous days. A lot of interest everywhere we've done this, and there's a great need in all of these people's churches and villages, and out where they go to minister to people. That's the pastor there, the younger man, right beside John. Then this brother got one of the sets of chlorine generators, and this is the pastor. He received the other one, and they're going to make a big difference reaching people with safe water and the gospel. This is a Bible school we visited on Saturday morning. We had been there last year to teach, and Greg is going to bring a team in the near future. They're very open to our ministry.